It is time to turn to the rugby. Alan Quinlan, good morning to you.
Morning, lads. How are you?
How are you keeping?
Good, thanks. Yeah, very good.
We were having a conversation earlier on about how people deal with recognition and fame and autograph hunters and selfie hunters. You must get a fair bit of that.
No, I do not. Not in the same bracket as the people you were talking about. No, I'm probably an autograph hunter nowadays.
I get out of it. How do you deal with that when you're out? When you're out and about shops, out for a pint, and there's people coming at you left, right, and centre? Are you good with it?
It doesn't happen to me that much, to be honest. It probably did happen a bit when you were playing, particularly when I was living down in Limerick and stuff like that. If you go out for the food shop in the evening, particularly around Castletroy, there's a lot of us living around there and training close to the university. Yeah, you'd meet lots of people who'd stop up, but they get used to you and probably leave you alone then. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen much anymore. Most people haven't a clue who I am anyway, so it's not an issue. But yeah, I'm more of an autograph hunter nowadays, particularly with my son and stuff. If we're out and about and we see anyone,
you can't beat it.
Yeah.
So a few things to get to. We'll talk a little bit maybe about the Clash of the Champions. Has been worded in a little bit. We want to talk obviously about the under-20s as well, but might start with the Johnny Sexton independent disciplinary hearing that's been confirmed for July the 13th. Obviously it's looking into his conduct after the Champions Cup final last month. This is a worry now, isn't it?
It is, and it's probably taken a while, which has been surprising that it's taken this long to actually determine that they're going to have a hearing. A couple of weeks ago, obviously we heard that something was happening. They made contact and probably looked for a response from Johnny Sexton and from Leinster, and now we have a hearing. So it is a concern, it is a worry, and I suppose it's in a court, in a court of law, it's probably there's some sort of a case to answer for that they've progressed to this stage, and who knows what's going to happen. As I said a while back, hopefully from an Irish point of view, it's not a ban that's going to affect the World Cup. I think they have to address the issue. I think if you ask Johnny afterwards, and again, I'm not speaking for him, he probably would regret what happened and getting involved, particularly, I think, more so that he wasn't in the match day 23. He's a captain of the squad and he's a very senior player with Leinster, but it probably wasn't a great look when you're not involved and not tugged out. As I said, people can say stuff to referees, and there's emotion and there's probably a bit of mitigation if you're tugged out and you have that adrenaline rush and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't a great look. He didn't murder anyone. It's not like as if it's a disgraceful kind of situation. But I think it's something that he probably he shouldn't have done. That's the reality of it. He shouldn't have done it, and he engaged with Jaco Piper. He's obviously he said his piece. So look, I think they'll have to be seen to take some sort of action, and I'm sure Johnny will have an explanation of what he said as well. But it's a worry now at this stage, and it's something that hopefully, as I said, doesn't affect his World Cup preparation. I'm sure there may be some sort of a ban or suspension or fine or something out of this.
Do you they obviously have some heavy hitters now on the panel. The fact that they're taking it this far suggests that they feel that there is a case to be answered. Is there some sense, Quinny, that it's his reputation has preceded him to a degree with this as well, or that may even end up playing itself into the conversation a little bit?
Yeah, well, there's I'm not sure. I think that could be a case in point for Leinster and his defence to say that, there's obviously been a lot of talk about this on social media and a lot of commentary from people who maybe see this as an opportunity to weaken Ireland at the World Cup. Yeah. Some journalists have seen it, and I'm not sure. They're talk about the good of the game and the values of the game and the way you don't see people getting involved with referees. And rugby is different to soccer, the way you see soccer players kind of up in their faces screaming and shouting. Look what happened to Jurgen Klopp a few months ago in the Premier League when he's kind of going at a fourth official. That was very high profile. He got a touchline ban for that and a fine. I know it's a different level, but it's not a good look for sport when you have that. And we're continuously trying to talk about respect for referees and GAA referees in particular in Ireland. A lot of situations they've had. Problems with the DDSL here in Dublin that's been highlighted the last number of years, where referees don't want to go out on a Sunday and referee underage games because they're getting abused on the sideline. So nobody wants to see that situation where referees are being kind of challenged. There's always a case for me of believing that there's a balance, and it goes right back to the Rassie Erasmus stuff at the Lions a couple of years ago, that there has to be some little bit of accountability. Emotions get high, and the performance on a particular day can affect people's livelihoods on both ways, referee and players. So sometimes emotions get high, but I don't think there's been a trial on social media of Johnny Sexton, and previously he's the type of person, I've said this before, that I want him as my captain, confronting the referees or challenging decisions, but sometimes Johnny's emotions get the better of him, and he's so passionate about what he does. And in this particular case, I think it wasn't a good look, and I would imagine, I'm only speculating, that he realised that it was wrong. And we all want to say things at times to referees or give out to them after matches, whether you're coaches, players or participants, but sometimes you just got to bite your lip. And in this particular occasion, I think, because and I didn't think there was anything major in that game that totally went against Leinster either, and I say that in my own opinion. There was nothing that jumped out that there was any blatant decision that Jakob Piper had given against him. So look, I think he got it wrong, and I imagine if the ERC, ECPR, or there's going to be some sort of punishment here, and from an Irish point of view, look, hopefully it's not a situation of him missing any World Cup games. He may miss warm-up games. It may be a fine. But look, I don't think it's as bad as it's kind of been portrayed in some quarters. But he's going to have a problem here of some sort, I think. Yeah,
and we'd Ronald Agar on a few weeks ago speaking in his defence as well. I'm sure that will be factored into it too. We'll see what happens on the track. So let's talk about, you were in commentary duty yesterday on Virgin for the pool game, Ireland against Australia, the Junior Wallabies. An impressive win from the Alan Quinlan 4-try bonus point win. They've drawn with England before that. They have Fiji to come, and if my reckoning is correct, it means that if Ireland beat Fiji with a bonus point and England have anything less than bonus point win over Australia, then Ireland go through. And if both Ireland and England win with a bonus point, then it comes down to points difference. So Ireland may need to do a big number on Fiji.
No, from what I can look at it, Adrian, just in the permutations, I think there's 3 pools of 4. The top 3 in each pool goes through automatically, and then there's a 4th best runner-up, which would be the next best qualified team. So if you look at Pool C, I think you've Italy on 5, South Africa on 5, and Georgia on 5. Those 3 teams cannot get past 10 points. So one of them will top the group on 10 points, I think. And then the next best runner-up in the other 2 pools, will, again, I think, in the top group, France's group, I think the top number there they can get to is 12 or 13 as well. Maybe 12. So from what I can see, if Ireland get a bonus point win, they're going to be in the semi-finals.
Okay.
France are going to top the group. Either Ireland or England, it looks like, will possibly top the group, and then you're kind of going from Argentina, Georgia, South Africa, or maybe Italy, because they beat South Africa yesterday. It's amazing. That group is so tight. It started with Argentina beating Italy pretty convincingly, and yesterday was, crazy. Georgia beat Argentina, and Italy beat South Africa. So that group is incredible. So from my reckoning, a bonus point win puts Ireland in the semi-finals. England had a big win yesterday. They're 26 points better than Ireland. And obviously they've got to play Australia yet, so who knows what will happen in that game. But going back to the game yesterday, I think the first 10 or 15 minutes was concerning, and it looked like that Ireland were playing a side that were just incredibly dangerous in attack. Their backline looked very powerful. Australia looked a better team for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game. Ireland were under a fair bit of pressure. And unbelievably, when it looked like Australia possibly are scoring a try early on, Andrew Osborne, he intercepts a try, goes up the field. Ireland get a penalty, they go 3-0 up. And then we saw the dangerous nature and quality of Australia, where they go nearly the full length of the field and score a brilliant try under the post, and you're kind of worried and concerned when it goes to 10-3 to Australia.
And some poor Ireland defence within that, Quinny, as well, like it must be said.
It was, but it was like their centre, and I said it a lot in commentary, David Vahu, he's played a lot of Super Rugby this year. He's an incredible player, and he's involved in that try. I think Henry O'Donnell, who scores at his place, Super Rugby. Teddy Wilson, their captain, the scrum half, Super Rugby as well. A lot of these guys have fairly regular contributions. I know there's some guys in the Irish side of URC involvement, but not as much as the Australians. So kind of before the game, you're thinking, oh God, this is a tall order. Now the conditions were horrendous, and how there's a situation where there's 3 matches on the same pitch in the one day, and it's not factored in that if the weather goes a bit pear-shaped.
What's the story with that, Quinny? Like the pitches on the TV look absolutely horrendous.
It's crazy. Will, did you see the third game, Italy and South Africa? It's hard to believe that it wasn't taken into consideration that you could have, and it does rain a bit in South Africa this time of year. It's their winter. So to have 3 games in the one pitch and talk about player welfare and protecting players and safety. Thankfully, I don't think anybody got seriously injured from a bad slip or, a bad injury from the games yesterday. But I think in hindsight that was a mistake, not to have another option. I understand what they're trying to do, and in fairness, it's easy to talk about it afterwards. They're trying to get all the games on the one day, and the games are coming thick and fast. There's kind of 5 or 6 days between each block of games, but it wasn't a good look. But Ireland were outstanding. I think they get a try before half time, and they nudge ahead, and you think, wow, this is a big turnaround. I think a big turning point of the game was the tight head for Australia going off, Massimo De Lutis. I think a big, powerful, because Ireland's scrum kind of creaked a little bit early in the game, and then you have a situation in the second half where Ireland's scrum dominance was just unbelievable. It was hard to fathom how it turned around so much and was so dominant, and that's kind of what won them the game. The forward pack, they were just brilliant, I think, as a unit. I've said this a lot about this team, and throughout the Six Nations as well. They're unbelievably tough, dogged. There's a hardiness about them that they just never really give up, and they're very abrasive and confrontational. So, they don't take a backward step in anything they do. So, and they loved that kind of scenario yesterday, of rolling up the sleeves and really kind of, being direct in the way they were playing, because that was the conditions. But, when you win 30 points to 10 against a very fancied Australian side, it's a brilliant return, and they've put themselves right back in contention, and really within a great position of getting into a semi-finals.
We should mention, Quinny, your fellow Tipperary man as well, Brian Gleeson. Like, I think we've used a few superlatives about him before on the show, chatting to you, and even some of his stats yesterday. 14 carries, 70 metres gained, 2 line breaks, 8 tackles, and got that try as well. Like, this guy is the real deal, isn't he?
It's not a surprise to see. I think what's great is he's backed up the performances in the Six Nations with even better performance yesterday. He's not just this big, strong, powerful ball carrier who runs direct at people. His footwork is very impressive. He's handling, and he was so prominent yesterday. I think he was without the ball as well. His tackles, his turnovers, unbelievably impressive. You know, he got a knock in the lead up to the English game, and I think his presence was missed because he's just non-stop for the whole game. Ruan Quinn was the same, the ball carrying, and they're, you know, I know they're two Munster guys, and I don't want to get anyone kind of saying I'm Munster bias here, but watch the game, you know, watch both of them. Ruan Quinn was just unbelievable as well. The carries and the power and the constantly getting over the game line. There's loads of other guys here. You know, Paddy McCarthy as a move from tight to loose head was outstanding. Gus McCarthy, the captain, and Ronan Fox making his debut yesterday. First start for the Ireland under-20s. 1 or 2 early problems in the scrum, but you know, he had a great game, and in the loose as well. So Charlie Irvin and Conor O'Tierney as well, and the players that came off the bench. I think that'll really please Richie Murphy, the kind of energy and the enthusiasm that kind of grew. And I just think that they controlled the whole game in the second half. The conditions did not suit the Australians, and they didn't play the conditions in any way. Who knows, if you had a dry day, a hard pitch, would they caused Ireland more problems? Possibly. They should have scored a try after half time when it was 11-10. Tim Ryan, the Australian winger, dropped the ball, and that was their only opportunity of the whole second half. So it was a brilliant performance, particularly in that second half from this Ireland under-20 side.
Just before we wrap, Quinny, Dan Delaney has been in contact. He says Quinny gave us a talk back in 2013 before the county semi-final in the Laois Senior Hurling Championship. Plenty of young lads looking for selfies that night.
I can't remember, did they win the match though? Does he say that?
He hasn't told us. He'll be
was
in
the
touch.
talk any good, or did I bore them to tears?
So anyway, look at we'll have to go back to the Clash of the Champions again, Quinny. Go back. The game on Tuesday, isn't it? Fiji, is that right?
Tuesday, the game against Fiji, yeah.
On the telly?
It is, yeah. So, it is, yeah. I think it's 12:30 kickoff on Virgin.
Very good. Yourself and Dave Mack playing a blinder, and hopefully we can get through Fiji and progress on. Quinny, thanks a million.
Cheers, thanks, lads.